Okay, let's get into some of the history of psychology. So, the study of abnormal psychology has a very long and controversial past. This field continues to develop, and some of what we know now is different from 10 years ago. And in 2034 or 2036, it might be different from today. So, let's go back way, way back for a second and talk about where it kind of started. So, we can think about it big picture, kind of where we came from and where we are today. So, in Greece, sometime between around 300 to 400 BC, Hippocrates, who was the father of medicine, felt that the human body needed balance in order for a person to be healthy. He believed that abnormal behaviors, or what today we might say mental illness, right? We would use that term, were the imbalance of four humors of the body. And these four humors, according to Hippocrates, were black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. It's kind of icky. It's not really how we think about it today, right? But at least at that point, there was a recognition that something was out of balance and something wasn't working and something was wrong, right? So this was kind of the first time in history that I'm aware of and that the textbooks I've read are aware of that they started to say, something's not right, something's wrong. We don't really know how to fix it, but we know something's up. Okay. Before and after Hippocrates, around this time, it was also believed that abnormal behavior was caused by demonic possession, witchcraft, and even the devil himself. Archaeologists have also uncovered skulls with holes in them and documentation to suggest that the holes were made to allow evil spirits to escape. There is evidence that some people lived after having this procedure done, and in several cases, it appears that the skull began to heal. So on the next page, there's a picture of a skull with holes in it. Here is the picture. So you can see it looks like there started to be some healing after these holes were made. And I don't know if they were all made at once or made at different times, but there's a lot going on here. And this person lived after this procedure. And this is called trepanation. Okay, so Middle Ages around 476 AD to around 1400 or 1450-ish. During the earlier years of the Middle Ages, demon possession was what they thought the answer was for explaining abnormal behavior, and this resulted in numerous exorcisms and even deaths. Later in the Middle Ages, the most popular explanation for abnormal behaviors was still supernatural, that the person was associated with witchcraft, and common practice for people convicted of this was to be harmed, basically murdered, burned at the stake, stoned, or forcibly drowned. In the 1500s, Bethlehem Hospital in England was converted from just a hospital to the world's first asylum. It wasn't all good, but it was at least not murdering people outright, right? Okay, so pause for 1 second. The terms AD and BC, what do they mean? What is their history? So we're going to talk about that super briefly because not everybody knows. People have asked before. So I put in a little explanation of this history piece. So in the Middle Ages, basically the term AD and BC have their roots in Christianity. So AD stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for in the year of the Lord, and it refers specifically to the birth of Jesus Christ. BC stands for before Christ. Okay, whatever you believe about religion, a Christian monk decided that AD was the way to quantify the years in his religion using the birth of Jesus as year one. It was previously Anno Diocletiani. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. My apologies. Which was counting years from the start of when a person, Diocletian, became the Roman emperor from AD 284 to AD 305. So this monk switched it because he was like, I don't like this emperor. He prosecuted people of my religion. I don't like it. So he changed it. So the calendar went from 247 one year to 532 the next year. That's almost 100 years different. It's crazy. So anyhow, that's not really the point of the conversation, but it was basically switched. And so AD stands for now Anno Domini. So this year would be AD 2026. So some people in some publications though, now we talk about these periods as BCE and CE. And that stands for before Common Era and Common Era. And it is thought to be more inclusive since it does not reference religious history directly. So using this reference, this year would be CE 2026. Okay, so let's talk about this asylum. We got an asylum made out of Bethlehem, this hospital. So let's talk about it. So, in for this situation, a person could be admitted by their family members or others for any number of reasons. It was common practice to chain the inmates, the people admitted to the hospital, to the walls at times, and to sometimes deny them clothing. Once admitted, a person rarely left, although some did, but not everyone did. Treatments utilized during this period included beatings, the act of bloodletting, and ice baths. And people applying the treatments thought that they worked. And the reason they thought they worked was because some of the patients showed improvements in behavior. But think about this for a second. If the treatment is bloodletting, ice baths, beatings, I'm not gonna show my symptoms if I have something going on, right? And I don't think many people would if they could help it. They would definitely hide those symptoms because they wouldn't want the treatment, right? So these improvements were due to false positives. Behavior often improved because people wanted to change their behavior to avoid the treatment. They weren't really fixing it, right? Many still believed that abnormal behavior was due to demon possession or supernatural stuff until the late 1700s. Then in the late 1700s, Philippe Pinel from this in France, he advocated for moral treatment. He was like, "This is not, it's not demons. Come on, we gotta move past this." He thought that this behavior was based on stress and inhumane conditions. Of course, considering the asylum information, yeah, that's pretty inhumane, right? But so he said, no more chains. We need social interaction, no more beatings. But they didn't actually treat any of the mental illnesses or behaviors. They gave people better treatment and they were in a safer place, but it wasn't really treating the problem. So, to a certain extent, Pinnell's approach is still in use today. No chains, gentle treatment, and isolation or restraint is only used in a dangerous situation, and it is temporary. So it's only if someone is a danger to themselves or others. Otherwise, that's not a thing that is happening or should be happening. This video is available to you in Canvas, and you can watch it on your own if you want to. Okay, so here's a review of some different perceptions of mental illness and abnormal behavior and different treatments over time. I'm going to buzz through this list, but as you listen to it and you think about it, just look at how far we have come from the start and how far we go every year in our research and our kind of work towards more modern help. Originally treating abnormal behavior by drilling a hole in the skull, we went from that. So we did recognize that the brain might be a cause of mental illness or symptoms, but we didn't know how to fix it, right? Seeing demons, evil, or witchcraft as the root of the problem, using asylums to house and treat the mentally ill, but then pushing for more moral and humane treatment of mental illness, increased research and more publications in the field of genetics, psychology, and psychiatry. And we started using Freudian psychoanalysis and dream interpretation. We will get into Mr. Freud, Dr. Freud in a while. That's not right now. Looking at links between physical ailments like syphilis and abnormal patterns of thoughts and behavior, and developing different tests and measures like the Rorschach tests and IQ tests, which we look at in this class. They're really interesting, I think. Also, lobotomy and electroconvulsive therapies as remedies for mental illness, lithium and other medications. Lithium's been used for decades to as a mood stabilizer. So it's really interesting stuff. We also have the DSM now. We're on the DSM-5, so the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and there is a copy of that in PDF that is in this course. You can have it, you can download it if you're interested. It's free, so don't if you're super interested in the topic, don't go paying for anything. I have a copy for free for you. Um, and then we now look at biologically based theories of mental illness, like maybe there is a structural challenge like something's going on in the brain structurally or chemically. Um, Also, we can do brain scans for diagnostic tools for some things, and there's more research based, empirically supported treatment now, which is great. And what does empirically supported mean? Well, empirical research, which we'll talk about more in a different lecture specifically, but it basically means research that was done in a scientific way, observed by researchers, and reported by them. So, like firsthand knowledge, basically, firsthand knowledge of an experiment. Okay, let's get into modern perspective.